Welcome back to another edition of the Friday Show, brought to you this week by Woodbine Racetrack. I'm Ray Paulick, joined by bloodstock editor Joe Nevills, and a special guest this week, newly inducted Hall of Fame trainer Mark Casse. First of all, Mark, congratulations on the induction this year. I know it was very important to you. And thanks for joining us on the Friday Show.
Yeah, thanks, Ray. It was an emotional time, as many of you know. But no, it was great, and it's a true honor.
Well, it's your second Hall of Fame induction. You're also a member of the Canadian Hall of Fame, and you may have other Hall of Fames I don't know about that you're in.
Somebody suggested maybe I could run some horses in Mexico, and then we could cover all of North America. But I don't think
there you go.
I do like the fact that you thank Todd Pletcher for not running in Canada very often.
Yeah, that was my son.
You have won,
yeah,
by my count, 12 of the last 15 Sovereign Awards for Outstanding Trainer. So that's unreal. So the reason we have Mark on the show is this week, Gulfstream Park debuts their synthetic surface, Topeta. It'll be I guess, is this the first three-surface racetrack in North America? I think it is, right? As far as synthetic, dirt,
different surfaces, yeah,
and turf, yeah. This is going to be good for Gulfstream Park, I think, because they're going to give their turf course a little bit of a rest, and they get a lot of rain in Florida, South Florida, and a lot of times when those races come off the turf, you're going from 10 horses to 4 or 5, and that's not good for business. So, Mark, how does having this option affect you as a trainer and your owners in terms of, your thoughts about what horses to send to South Florida?
Well, as you know, Ray, we run a lot on synthetic because at Woodbine, and also we dabbled at Turfway this year. I think it's head over heels the best surface out there right now in North America. It's definitely the safest. Woodbine statistics will show you that. It'll actually allow us, I was thinking about it today, we have a large training center in Ocala, and it'll allow us to run horses a little sooner than we normally do. Synthetic and Topeta is not as tiring as a dirt surface, so it doesn't take as much training. I would say that probably a horse requires maybe 30% less training to be ready to run. So in other words, if a horse were to require 12 breezes, it might only require 8 breezes to run on the synthetic. So I think it's great. I think it's going to, I think it's great of the Stronach Group to do it because it's good for horses. It's safer. And as you said, they get so much rain. It's getting harder and harder to get dirt races to go in South Florida. And it's become the one thing that Miami can offer that, say, for instance, in the wintertime, especially, Oakland is just head over heels bigger right now with purses. Right. So, but they don't have grass. You're going to see things get bigger and better, I believe, at Turfway. So the one thing that they can have is grass. Well, if they destroy it and have nothing to run on, then that takes away their ace in the hole. And I think by having the Topeta, they'll get more out of it. I can tell you, it will pay for itself in no time. I think about all the races I watched, New York and all those races, they come off, it'll be 10 horses, and next thing you know, it's 3. That won't happen with the synthetic, with the Topeta. So I'm excited. I'm excited for everybody. Most of all, I'm excited for the horses because it's better and it's safer.
Do you see this changing the types of horses and trainers that ship and succeed at Gulfstream over the course of the season, but especially over the winter? I know a lot of Canadian trainers, spend their winter down there between the meets at Woodbine, and they always seem to do their most damage when they get back up to their normal surface. Do you think having this option will sort of affect the trainer standings at all?
Well, I can only tell you how it'll affect me, and you'll see me bring a lot more horses. there. Joe, the one setback and the one disadvantage I believe in the synthetic is that it's so kind on horses that it's very difficult to get a horse ready to run on synthetic on the dirt, to transfer from synthetic to dirt. So that's what you see happening all winter long. And so you don't see it. It's not very successful because it's so difficult to do. We've had some success over the years, but normally those horses have to train for a period of time at Palm Meadows. I used to, 10 years ago, maybe 12 years ago, I got all my horses ready at OBS on synthetic. But when I decided that I wanted to be more effective in the US, I knew that I would have to train on dirt to be able to run on dirt. And so when we built our training center about 6 or 7 years ago, it's dirt. But so that's the difficult part. And that's why you see sometimes a change of form. A lot of people may look and say, well, Woodbine's easier. I've had plenty of horses that I've run at Saratoga and, maidens, and they run second or third. And you say, well, I'm going to take them to Woodbine and they'll just clean their clocks. Doesn't work that way. There are definitely three surfaces. To me, and I've said this, I'll say it a million times, horses weren't bred to run on the dirt. They were bred to run on the grass. And Topeda's as close to grass as you can get. And we know that grass takes a beating, so we can only use it so much. I think it's a great thing. I'm hoping that it's successful. And I think New York may be flirting with possibly a synthetic track somewhere down the line. And I think it would be great. And I think it would pay for itself in no time.
Mark, you mentioned it's a kinder surface. And yet when there were more synthetic tracks, I think we're down to 5 now at racetracks, Golden Gate, Presque Isle, Woodbine, Gulfstream now, and Turfway. The thing we kept hearing from trainers was it causes soft tissue injuries. It maybe cause fewer fractures and that sort of thing. Has that been your experience?
That is the biggest bunch of hogwash that I've ever heard. That's the most ridiculous statement. And that statement's coming from people that really have no knowledge of it. I can tell you, I tell everybody, well, this study and that study, I've been doing my own study for 40 years. I study every day, and I can tell you that there's probably nobody in the world that has run as many races on dirt and synthetic as me. And I can tell you, we have far more soft tissue injuries on dirt than we ever do on synthetic. So that's somebody saying things that don't know what they're talking about or has no data to follow it up. Like I said, I do my own studies, and whenever I hear that, I just laugh because it's so ridiculous.
So short of this becoming one big infomercial for Topeta, I'm curious, all those tracks that Ray mentioned that are running synthetic surfaces right now, all of them are using Topeta. I think the last holdout was Arlington Park, and that looks like that's headed toward a football stadium now. I'm curious, from your perspective, why did Topeta win in North America? Why is that the one that everyone seems to have landed on as the sort of the go-to synthetic racing surface?
That's a good question, Joe. And I think when synthetic came in, we were misled. I think tracks were misled. They said, it didn't take maintenance. It didn't need this. And there's nothing that doesn't need maintenance. I mean, things wear out. And a lot of those companies came in and made promises, but they didn't have a backup. Topeta, they've continually tried to make their product better. And they also come in and help regenerate it when it does go bad. I sit on the board of OBS, and I think we started with Soft Track. So it was a company from Europe, and we used it for a while. But once we, it started breaking down, because any material over a period of time is going to need maintenance and And we went to Topeta, and one of the reasons we went to Topeta, and I'm just helping your info commercial, is is they know what they're doing, and they can are always helping and maintaining it. They do a good job. And
So
I own no stock in Topeta, so I just want you to know that.
From a handicapping standpoint, it's really hard to know who's going to run well on synthetics, I think, at least. From a training standpoint, when do you know that a horse is adaptable? After they race over it, or are there some signs that you can look for physically, or they're
No, I don't. We know by the way they train over it. And I understand, I think handicappers are going to struggle in the beginning, of course. But as form starts, you're going to get a good idea after a horse makes a start or two. And maybe Joe, I'm sure, you look at a pedigree and you say, well, this pedigree is going to enjoy turf, right? Mm-hmm. There are pedigrees that enjoy synthetic. I can tell you right now, I've trained a few frosteds that struggle on dirt and on grass, but I have a really good synthetic frosted. So, they're definitely, horses. I find a lot of times anything with Empire Maker, a lot of Empire Maker, Pioneer of the Nile, those horses also enjoy synthetic. Most of the time, if you have a horse that likes turf, they will. Now, not all of them are going to love it, but a good chance of it.
Is that the kind of thing you keep in mind when you're buying at auction, is kind of how they might perform on synthetic, or is that kind of a byproduct of, we're trying to get a classic winner?
Well, I have a fallback. That's a fallback, Joe, for me a little bit. When you go to the sale, you look, and at least I know I have those options. And I'm hoping, that with Gulfstream, maybe if it works well, maybe we'll get some more synthetic out there again. I think the reason we lost it was just for what I just was saying. It came to us with lots of promises, and they said that there wasn't going to need maintenance and this and that. And I think some of the people didn't do a very good job of putting it in. And I do, especially if I'm buying a Canadian bred, you sure want it to like synthetic. I have had, I think of Uncaptured. Uncaptured was, he won the Jockey Club, and he won a couple races on synthetic, but I never thought he got to be a good horse until he actually got on dirt. And I remember, he won the Jockey Club in the fall, and I think I took him up and maybe gave him a try on Topeta again. And I was like, no, he just doesn't like it. So I didn't run him in the Queen's Plate, and I ran him in the Prince of Wales, which is at Fort Erie on grass, and he won it. So you will find a few that won't run on it. Now, I have to tell you an interesting thing, and this could play a little true down the road. I was standing next to a prominent trainer at Keeneland one day. This was when they had synthetic, and I heard him talking to somebody, and they said, "So you don't like the synthetic at Keeneland?" He goes, "No, we like it, but the problem is if they run good over it, they don't have it in New York. I'm going to lose that horse. He's going to go somewhere where they have synthetic." So I think a lot of horses ended up not running on it just because they didn't want to expose themselves. The trainers didn't want to expose. So I found that very interesting. And this was a big trainer. I was like, when I heard it.
Well, Mark, I appreciate your insights on this. Like you said, I don't think anybody has run more races on the combination of all three surfaces, and you've been very successful. Wanted to ask you about some of the horses that you've got going right now. Let's start with Stormy. What do you have in mind for her after kind of a disappointing turf sprint last year in the Breeders' Cup and a good mile the year before?
Well, obviously she loves Saratoga. the 4-star day. She brought her A game there. I knew after that there wasn't a good place to run her, and I wanted to give one more race before the Breeders' Cup. She is 1-for-1 at Del Mar. She likes it hard, she likes it fast, and she likes sharp turns. She can run around a turn about as good as any turf horse in the world, and that's what makes her great. And she uses that to her advantage. Well, that doesn't work when you're running at Keeneland. It doesn't work when you're running at Woodbine. We got lucky last year because it rained down at Kentucky Downs, and she just towered over them. We went back there, and it was so hard. She likes hard. Don't get me wrong, she likes hard, but she doesn't get the advantage of the sharp turns there. They were just a little too fast for her. I think if there was a little give in the ground, she would have ran better. That being said, I knew it was a shot in the dark. We're on schedule. We're going, she's going to California, and we're going to try the Breeders' Cup Mile. The only reason we cut back last year, Ray, was that I knew that there's no way we were going to she could get a mile at Keeneland. Because there's always going to be give in the ground in the fall, and she needs it to be rock hard to get a mile. So, yeah, that's why I did what I did.
Soup and Sandwich was a popular horse on this year's Kentucky Derby trail. Hasn't run since the Derby. What's he been up to, and where's he headed next?
I just threw Joe. I felt like I threw a lot at him. He didn't make his first start, I think, until January. Yeah, we got what they call Derby fever, probably.
Never heard of it.
It's a true, definitely. I don't know if there's a vaccination for it yet, but it's definitely, it's a thing. And I just felt like I kind of let him down, and he ran, he was tired. I will say Tyler did a good job. Tyler didn't persevere when he knew he was beat, and he let him kind of finish out the Derby and just gallop around. We sent him home to Mrs. Weber's. Charlotte, Mrs. Weber loves to give her horses time off. She is a big thing. And we just gave him some time off, and we brought him back, and he is training up a storm. I had him at our training center in Ocala, recently sent him to Churchill. And I don't know the name of the stake, but we're aiming for, there's a 7/8 straight 3-year-olds at Keeneland, and that's where we're hoping for him to run back.
All right, something old and something new. Your Belmont Stakes winner, Sir Winston, and the Best Pal winner, Papa Cap, out in California, or he was in California.
Yes, Sir Winston, came back off a long layoff. I think he got sick when he went to Dubai. When we came back, he just was not himself. We tried a couple times. We sent him home, gave him a long rest, and he came back at Woodbine and was impressive. He runs in the Durham Cup, which I believe is the 10th. And he's training well. My thought was to give him one more start at Woodbine, and then we're kind of looking at, hopefully, if he can regain his form, maybe down in Miami this winter or something like that. Papa Cap is in on Friday. He's in the American Pharaoh tough race. He's going to have to step up his game, but he's training extremely well. I don't know if you were able to watch his work the other day at Santa Anita, but it was quite impressive. And he's a horse I've been excited about. He'll have to step up his game. I think he will, and hopefully with a good effort, we're looking at the Breeders' Cup for him.
And that was the plan. This will be his first time around 2 turns.
It is. If you didn't see, he ran in the Del Mar Futurity, and he broke running and went about 100 yards and decided he was going to take a left-hand turn. And when he did that, it scared me, and Joe yelled at him. And when he did, he took off, and it made him almost unrateable. And that's not him. He'll actually rate. It just, everything went wrong. I knew when we drew the 1 hole, I was like, that is not good. Now we go from the inside to the outside. He's drawn outside, but I think that's fine. Looks like there's 2 or 3 horses in there that have some speed. Everybody's going to be looking at the horse on the rail of Bob's, the quality road colt. It's a beautiful horse. We actually bid on him. He sold at OBS in April, but Bob had more money than we did. And, I think all eyes will be on him, and we'll see how good he is. I would be shocked if Papa Cat doesn't give a really good account of himself.
Well, we're coming up to a lot of big races, including up at Woodbine this weekend. Saturday's Wonder Wear Stakes, Sunday's Breeder Stakes, the final leg of the Triple Crown. You got any insights on either of those races? Do you have anybody in?
I have nothing in them. I have very few Canadian breds this year. That's hard. If you're going to run in the Queen's Plate, you're going to run those races. You got to have Canadian breds. So I don't have a whole lot. We did try to go out and buy a few at the last sale here in September. So we'll try to, but I really have no insight whatsoever. No, sorry.
Well, that's all right. Well, Mark, thanks again for joining us, helping us to have a little better understanding of the synthetic tracks and, what we can look forward to at Gulfstream Park starting this week. Good luck with, you've got one in on Friday on the synthetic surface, and
yes,
we'll be watching to see how that one does.
Sure, I'm sure I'll have a few more in the future, but you guys have a great day.
Thanks a lot. We'll be right back after we take a look at this week's Woodbine Star of the Week.
Pink Lloyd on the inside, ahead to Lucky Curlin, who's making a real race of this as they come inside the quarter. A couple away is Cash Dividend. On the inside, looking to strike, a Magical Man turning together. Pink Lloyd on the inside, Lucky Curlin. They're stride to stride, Pink Lloyd by a neck. Lucky Curlin in second. Behind them is looking to strike. Pink Lloyd holding out quite comfortably. Lucky Curlin's made another bid, but not enough. And Pink Lloyd on the inside. Pink Lloyd down to the wire. What a mighty horse. A ball of muscle, wins by a length to Lucky Curlin. Third is looking to strike, followed by Cash Dividend, and last, Magical Man.
You heard the man. Our Woodbine Star of the Week is Pink Lloyd, who won his second straight edition of the Grade 3 Bold Venture Stakes on September 25th. This horse is 9 years old. We make a lot of jokes about having a horse of a lifetime, but this one might actually be true because he's stuck around for such a big chunk of our lives. I mean, what else do you say about this horse at this point? This is win 27 for Pink Lloyd, and he was challenged pretty tough here throughout by Lucky Curlin, but this horse just has that fight in him. He refuses to lose.
Yeah, at the age of 9, he came up with new tactics. He went right to the lead. Usually he's got to fight through a little bit of traffic because he's more of a come from behind her, but he was tough on the lead. That was his 24th stakes win, I think, in his career. Wow. It's just, and I really like that trainer Bob Tiller has decided he's a local hero. We're not going to send him to take on the biggest dogs in races at Saratoga, the Forgo, or at Belmont, races like that, or Breeders' Cups. I don't think he's that good, but I mean, a horse that is 27 for 36. What can you say except, ladies and gentlemen, Pink Lloyd?
And he's a 7-figure earner. It's worked for them, and he's got just outstanding sustained form. He's run 36 times over the course of 6 seasons, and he's only finished out of the Superfecta twice. He was 5th both of those instances too, so it's not like he's ever thrown a true clunker without some sort of chicanery with the gate where he gets declared a non-starter or something. Even most really good horses can't string together a season like that, much less a whole career of that. But that's what makes Pink Lloyd so special and so easy to root for.
I guess the question is, will he come back next year at 10? This was his first win of this year after, I think, a couple starts earlier. But the way he looked here, there's no reason not to bring him back, I don't think, next year.
He's still running against the best and beating the best. He is the best. As long as he's holding up, why not?
And Joe, I learned that you must like to play Superfectas. So
just the 10 cents. Just the 10 cents.
Well, that's going to do it for this edition of the Friday Show, brought to you by Woodbine. huge weekend with the Wonderwear on Saturday, 1.25 miles on turf for 3-year-old fillies, and then Sunday's 1.5 mile breeder stakes to conclude the Canadian Triple Crown. We've got Hadassah, the winner of the Prince of Wales, and Safe Conduct, who won the Queen's Plate. It did not go in the Prince of Wales. And I think Riptide Rock, the runner-up in the Queen's Plate, is going to be in there as well. So big weekend of racing at Woodbine. Thanks for their sponsorship. And we'll see you next week.